Welcome to Today I Work On, and today we're going to talk about these lights. They're overhead lights. They're in most boats, and ours are getting old. So if you look at them, they have the brass with the chrome, and they're all pitted, and it looks horrible. And a lot of times people just swap out the actual glass and swap in LEDs because the old school bulbs get super hot. We don't want that anymore. We're gonna replace these lights with these new LED lights. Now, how many lights are in just this one area? All right, I'll turn them on. So we have a bunch. I have just in this area, I have 3, 4, 5 lights just in this area. So think about back in the day in 2003 when this boat was made. That drew a lot of power. So they actually used pretty heavy wire because I swapped 2 out already. So I'm gonna show you right now how to pop these off and how to swap them out the easiest way. So let me start working on that. All you need to do to swap out these lights is get one of these little tools. It's a plastic like prying tool, and just carefully get behind the trim, and then boom. That's all you need to do. Now you're like, oh no, we have all these wires in here. That's fine. Now, if you look closely here, if you could see that, these wires are a little bit frayed from heat. So I'm gonna pop this one off too. See what that one looks like. This one looks fine, but this one actually looks frayed. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut it here. I'm gonna put 2 new crimps on, and then I'm gonna add 2 new crimps on here, and then I'm gonna put it together, and I'm gonna heat shrink it tight. Let me start working on that. Next up, I'm gonna cut off, shut the power off, make sure there's no power, and then we're gonna cut these off like so. I'm assuming the red's gonna be positive, yellow's negative. Doesn't really matter. I'll test them out before I put them in. So I'm gonna cut those off. And like again, this is overkill with 16 gauge now with the LEDs that put out no power whatsoever. So it's kind of interesting how we've come. But doing little things like this helps out save the battery, because when everything's LED, you're putting out, it's less draw on your batteries, right? Since this is a 12-volt system, so the battery charger has to work less. The battery could use power in other places, and it just makes sense to swap out these LEDs. And look how ugly these things are. Look at this. They're all pitted. They're old and yucky, and come on, we can't have that on this boat. So next up, I'm gonna take the sheathing off, and then I'm gonna crimp all these. So let me start working on that. First thing I'm gonna do is I gotta find out what is positive and what is negative on the line, and it's showing 12 volt plus. The 12 volt plus has 0 markings on it. The negative has this little line, and what I'll do is I'll remember it as being negative as a big negative sign. So I'm gonna cut back probably, I don't really need much. I'm gonna cut back probably to here. What I want to show you is, say we have the yellow, that's 12 to 10. I'm gonna use that as my female up top, and then what I'm gonna do is I'll use the 22 to 18 gauge, because this is pretty light gauge, right? They still go in together, you understand? And then I will heat shrink all this, and it's gonna look really good. So that's the plan. Let me start crimping this. So what I'll do is I'll just undo that like so. I will take my wire cutters. I'm gonna say this is like pretty much 22 gauge, and see how it cuts, which is perfect. I'll spin it, and then I will attach this like so. About that much will work. So you don't want to stick it out too much. Basically, that's what a line is. Now remember, this is like super tiny line, so you have to make sure you have the right connectors for all of this. I'm gonna crimp it right now. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna use my good crimpers. And so you go to red, it's number 1, and make sure you do it carefully. Done. So that's 1, and I'll do these 3 to start off. This is repetitive stuff, so I just want to show you initially how you do it. So I will crimp all these on, and then we'll put the first light in. I crimped all these on. So they're the pinky ones, the red pink. Now I'm going to use my trusty, I'll put this in the description. This little heat gun with this little curve is amazing. If you're doing any boat work and you need to heat shrink, this is the tool to buy. So heat shrink these bad boys down. And it's a very satisfying thing to watch as well. It does get really hot, but look at that heat shrink. Perfect. I have a bunch more to go. This is not fast work, it's slow work. So let me finish all these up. So this only has a single wire, so I'm going to use blue since it's 16 gauge and this is for a 16-14 gauge. So that is how you figure it out. On the double, when I have to double them up, I'm going to use the yellows since I need more space. Since it's two 16 gauge wires, that's common sense, right? The one little pro tip, go on Amazon and buy as many of these fittings as possible if you have a boat and you're going to work on it, because you fly through these fittings, man. They are, like I said, you fly through them. Just buy a bunch. I bought boxes of them, so I might not even have enough. So let me crimp these up. So I'm ready to crimp it. So blue, it's a blue crimp. All right, perfect. You want to make sure when you crimp, you don't cut into the metal on the crimp, if that makes sense, right? I gotta test to see what's positive and what's negative first. So let me finish crimping all this and then I'll do a test before I heat shrink them. Can you turn on that light? Let's see if it works. Yep, turn on. Oh, we got a light. All right, so this is our new LED light. This is really awesome. So I will put the rest of them in and let me, I'll attach them and then we'll heat shrink them. Let's just shrink wrap them up. I mean, heat shrink them. This thing is just honestly amazing. That's completely done. I'm gonna let it cool down for a minute and then I'll shove it back into the hole and then we'll recap this video. All right, last step, it's overkill. I'm gonna throw some black tape on it. Why not? I mean, this is never gonna come apart, but I'll do that, how many more times? 5 more times. All taped up, that's called overkill, but I don't mess around with electric on the boat. Last step is we're gonna put these back home into the holes. Feel where the wires want to go, where they used to go, and then it's very simple. Now all these wires are probably going to be a little different that you buy, but these you just basically push them in like that. So I'll do these two and then I'll recap. All right, let's check out the light. Let's see what we got. Ooh, lights. These bolts have been dead for a year and I haven't had a chance to get to them until now. So that's a wrap for this episode. I just wanted to show you how easy it was to swap out these types of lights. So we have nice new lights compared to these really old and dated looking lights that are pitted and yucky. So again, thanks for watching. If you like this video, please like it. If you have any comments, please comment. I always respond. And if you like more boat videos, please subscribe and I will catch you next time.